The AI suggested that the first thing I had to do was walk around for a few minutes to get a feel for the place. There honestly wasn't too much to look at, just snow, ice, more snow. I did spot a pillager outpost though, and an igloo right next to it. I headed over, making sure not to disturb any pillagers because the AI hadn't told me to fight anyone yet. The igloo had a bed and a crafting table, which were both very convenient. The next thing the AI told me to do was to grab wood for tools and crafting materials, as well as stone and food. I picked up the bed and crafting table and found the nearest tree to get some tools, to then mine some stone, just as I was told. I was also told to get some food, so I headed into the depths of the ocean to find some salmon. They didn't really put up much of a fight. The AI told me my next goal was to build a house, so I asked it for exact instructions. I needed to find an area near a water source, which was quite lucky considering I'm right next to a massive ocean. I placed my bed down nearby and slept the night away to prepare for building the house in the morning. I began the second day by mining a bit of stone, which I needed to smelt to get stone blocks, just as the AI had told me. I set up a foundation for the house, filled it in with slabs, and then realized I still had to ask the AI what to build with. And of all things, it decided to give me wool and leaves. I set up some more foundations for the house and then quickly realized a problem. I needed iron to get both wool and leaves, so I had to ask the AI what to do. I set out to find a cave and found a ruined portal along the way. The chest had some golden carrots, which was quite lucky considering I was very hungry, though. I remembered that the AI hadn't told me to eat them, so I asked it for advice. Oh, come on. So I had to throw them away. I found a ravine so I could clear the first goal, which was mining in a cave. I found coal and even went deep enough to get to deep slate, but I still wasn't finding redstone. I stumbled across some water as well, which seemed like a good omen, and I was right. I found diamonds. Although the AI hadn't told me to mine the diamonds, so I moved on. After a bit of digging, I finally found the redstone ore that I was looking for, and all I had to do was mine it. Now I could find some iron ore. Oh. Never mind. On day 3, I extended some of the foundations some more and placed cobblestone down to begin the structure. I headed off to find some sheep to kill for wool and found something even better. A village. Not only did it have a bunch of sheep, but it also had an iron golem, which also didn't put up much of a fight. I turned its remains into shears and spent the rest of the day shearing the sheep for wool and stealing from the locals. I ended with a total of 61 blocks of wool, and I slept in a villager's bed to hide from the monsters. I began the journey back home on day 4 and got to working on the house with the wool blocks I'd gathered. With the shears, I could also get leaves as well, which let me add even more detail and decoration to the house. Like most people would, I used them to make plants for the outside of the house. I added some space for windows, and I was pretty happy with how it looked, but it was missing one thing: the roof. I asked the AI for advice, and it told me to look for nether bricks. Luckily for me, I still had enough iron left over to make a bucket, so all I needed to get to the nether was a pool of lava. I spent a while traveling across the ocean until I stumbled across a much warmer looking island. I headed down into a cave. My logic was that it'd be easier to find the lava the further down I went, but really, I just found skeletons. I beat the first one up and jumped over the second one. I really wasn't geared up enough to be fighting skeletons. I tried to sneak around 2 more, but I guess they could smell me or something. I ended up backing myself into a corner, so my only way out was to attack them. But luckily, they were stupid and got themselves stuck. One of them also dropped a bow, which let me defend myself from other skeletons, and a witch that dropped its health potion. I continued to mine towards the sound of lava and finally found what I was looking for. I did some classic speedrunner nether portal tricks, not to brag or anything, and I made my way into the nether. I was hoping to spawn near a nether fortress, but all I got was fire, lava, and more fire, I guess. So I took the easy option, and I just spent a while mining some netherrack and headed home. While I was waiting for it to smelt, I crafted some trapdoors to use as windows, but decided to grab some sand instead, and the glass looked so much nicer. I began work on the nether brick roof. I was using some leaf blocks for scaffolding, but I still think it looked quite nice. I extended the roof some more, and it seems the undead had some opinions about how it looked, because they seemed quite interested in murdering me. I had to chug the health potion quickly to survive, and then I ran as deep into a cave as possible and was finally allowed to sleep the night away. I woke up on day 5 to the sound of a bunch of zombies burning to death. Very lovely. I filled in the roof with cobblestone, added a few quick details, and it was done. I was happy with how it looked, but it was still missing one thing. It still looked quite sad on the inside, so I asked the only person I trusted for advice, the artificial intelligence. It told me to add tables, chairs, beds, and bookshelves. I used some classic build tricks to make a table and a chair right next to it, and then I just, placed my bed. I also added a quick bedside cabinet too. For a small bit of detail, I used an item frame and a pressure plate to add a small little plant right next to where I sleep. In the morning of day 6, I set out to grab all the materials I needed for bookshelves. I went back to the plains and ran into another village. I grabbed some sugarcane for paper, killed some cows for leather, and then I found a library in the village, giving me 4 bookshelves for free. I left the building and saw something familiar. Yeah, it was a second library. I honestly don't know how I got so lucky. I rushed back home to add the finishing touches, and honestly, I really love how it looks. It's so small, but it's so warm and homely. It's easily my favorite thing I've ever built, and I couldn't have done it without the AI. I had so much fun making this video. I will leave a link for the AI in the pinned comment, and also, I've heard liking and commenting helps with the YouTube algorithm, so you can do that if you want to as well.